Greetings and blurbs and Intel overdrive processor things. Look at this. Got a lovely sealed 486 DX4 100 processor here. Yeah, dude. I've had this for a while now, and I've been meaning to put it in my LGR Woodgrain 486 for a while now. Although it's not been the Woodgrain 486 ever since I upgraded it to a Pentium overdrive over on my LGR channel. See that video if you haven't. I wanted to switch it over to this because that Pentium overdrive, while cool, it's not really the spirit of what I wanted to do with that machine when I initially built it. And this isn't really either, but it should be awesome. And I've always liked these processors. I've got one of them in my Compaq Presario 425. That thing is great. It's been in there ever since I got it in high school. But yeah, got this one sealed. I'm gonna see if it makes any difference. I don't know. It's not gonna be mind-blowing. In fact, I don't know if it's gonna be any faster or slower. I just don't know. I haven't actually tested or compared the performance of a 486 DX4 to the Pentium overdrive. So I don't know, just curious to see what the difference will be, so we'll compare the two. And that's what this is. So this in particular is a DX4 ODPR100, and that means overdrive processor replacement, ODPR. If you see the R in the name of these things, then you know that it is a specific type of thing that is meant to drop in and completely replace a PGA 168 socket. However, they also had this one. So this is essentially the same chip, but this is the ODP. So this has an extra pin on there, and you'll need to put that in an upgrade socket, or like a secondary kind of thing that's separate from the main CPU. I actually sent another one of these that I had over to Adrian Black, Adrian's Digital Basement. He put it on his second channel when he did a unboxing and setup video for that. So yeah, I recommend his video too if you want to see a little bit more in depth on that. And anyway, yeah, I gave him this replacement version, so it's more versatile. You can use it in more things. Whereas with this one, it's got that weird little extra pin just kind of right in the middle. Whatever. Let's get this unboxed and installed. And yeah, I ended up with a bunch of these boxed and sealed, which is why I've been sending them out to other YouTubers and such. I just got them all in like a job lot auction years ago, and they've been sitting in storage, and time to use this one. Now the way this comes off, it just sort of ruins the box. I don't know if I want to do that. I want to see if I can, like, because this thing just rips apart and blah. There we go. Keep that intact. Put it back on a shelf as a display piece. Heck yeah. Look at that. Reclosable chip container in a lot of languages. All right. So that is the Overdrive DX4 ODPR100. Yeah. Got some voltage regulation there, so we don't have to worry about that. And there is no additional center pin there, so yeah, you can just plug this into your normal PGA 168. I suppose that makes the other one PGA 169. Nice. Yeah, just normal 168 here. Looks like the pins are all looking good. And we get a little accessories packet. Don't see any Coffee Instant Type 2, but we do have a nice little PGA chip puller deal. These do tend to bend somewhat easily, and the edges are really sharp. I'm not a fan of these ones that Intel included in particular. But, you know, they do the job in terms of pulling things out when you don't have a ZIF socket or anything like that. But thankfully, the one that I have in there on the 486, don't have to worry about that at all. Oh yeah, we got this little disc. Overdrive Processor Demonstration and Diagnostics, version 5. Registration. Wee. And of course, some instrucciones. 1995. before I begin. On most computers, installing this crap is simple. But if it's not, it might suck. That's pretty much how these go. It is very simple. You just kind of plug it in, and most of the configuration is down to your system. So it's either going to handle all the voltage changing and clock multiplying, all that stuff on its own, but probably not, and definitely not in the case of my system in there. I'm going to have to refer to my documentation for my particular motherboard because there's things to swap around for the motherboard to know what type of CPU is going in there, because right now I have it set to P24T because that would be the Pentium overdrive, but this is different. I'll see. Anyway, go ahead and get this installed real quick and we'll test it out. Good times, good times, good times, banana. Right, so out with the Pentium overdrive. Just get that out of the socket here. And in goes the 486 overdrive. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit smaller, but that just means we'll leave one row of pins all the way around the edge. Just match up the corner there, and that's that. And at this point, it's just going to be a matter of figuring out those jumpers, and I'll be referring to that list of jumper settings that you saw earlier that I put up on screen. And yeah, shouldn't be too much to change though. And I'll go ahead and get it booted up. Hey, it's booting. Nice. You hear that actual physical hard disk click on and whirring there. It has a little bit of a click every so often, but I added it anyway because I was digging through storage. I'm like, oh man, original old hard drives. Oh, 100 megahertz, 46DX4, nice. So it is configured correctly, it seems. So that's fun. You never know with the jumpers. I double and triple check those. I actually tried a couple of different configurations. One I tried earlier didn't work. So the right back version DX4 configuration didn't work. Right through did, and here's what we got here. Right back is enabled for the L2 cache, the external cache. But yeah, I just put that little hard drive in there just to test out really quick and see if I maybe wanted to, yeah, it's like at 340-ish megs. I just wanted to see if it'd be fun to have an actual physical hard drive again, just as a C drive, and then I'm keeping the compact flash adapter here as like D, just to copy a bunch of things over easily and store some extra stuff, but run Windows and DOS and whatnot from a physical old spinny hard disk. Yeah. We're gonna run check CPU, just to double, triple check here. So DX4, 100 megahertz, clock multiplier 3. Yeah, all good. Yeah, there it is. Enabled in write through mode. Cool. Now let's run an actual benchmark. Let's do system information. Just to see how close it is to the Pentium overdrive. That's really close. That's a little closer than I thought it'd be. Let me bring up what it was before, because I tested this just before swapping it out. Yeah, what? It's exactly the same rating, at least in this benchmark. So the Pentium overdrive, 83 megahertz, was 132.3, exactly the same as we're getting. So let's run top bench. Wow. Yeah, again, extremely close. Yeah, here's what the results were with the Pentium overdrive. I was getting around 222 on average, and this one is about 221 on average. Fascinating. Let's run the 3D bench. I don't remember what graphics card I had in there when I did my Pentium overdrive video, but I've got the Diamond Speedstar Pro in there right now. Okay, so we got 52.5. And here's what it was when I did the Pentium overdrive, 55.7. So that's the result that I got when I originally put the overdrive in there, the Pentium. Huh. I do know that Quake wouldn't run for some reason. Let's see if, okay. Huh, that's actually loading. Yeah, for some reason I was never able to get the Quake time demo to actually run on the Pentium overdrive. Don't know why. This is doing it though. Hey, there we go. It's really dark, but that's all right. It's actually running, which is better than the last machine or the last CPU. Yeah, no, I never figured out why it wouldn't run on that. So it's not running great, but it is there. It's kind of cool to see it all. It's not as bad as I thought it'd be, honestly. It's just, you know, dark because it's just using the default settings for this benchmark. We'll skip ahead here, see what the average FPS was. Okay, we get 969 frames, 110.6 seconds. 8.8 FPS average. Oh man. I was hoping we might get 10. We might have gotten double digits, but no. So, okay. Well, yeah. It works, you know, but sure wouldn't want to play it like this unless it was 1996 and that's all you had, and in that case this would have been awesome. But oof. This is my first time playing Quake on this machine, I think. I've just never been able to run it. Oh, because like originally I had like the I might have tried it on the 66 megahertz like AM 486 thing that I had on here, like when I first built this like 5 years ago. But yeah, like I said, it just never ran at all on the Pentium Overdrive, so that sucked. I'd be curious to see what like an AM 586 would do, or like a Cyrix 586. So many things to test all the time. This is miserable, and the sound isn't even on. I don't even think we have... Actually, do we have sound? No, don't even have sound enabled. That's okay. So, let's try this really quick, just because I don't know what's on here. Processor Demonstration and Diagnostics version 5. I guess install. There's also a setup. We'll do install. Looks like there might be a Windows version as well. Okay, yeah. Interesting. Maybe we should run the Windows one, because... Yeah. I think I ran the DOS Diagnostics disk with the Pentium Overdrive. Squiggly backgrounds. Neat. ODP util. Okay. Installed. Let's see what it is. It's just this. Is it going to run in DOS anyway? Yep. Alright. So whatever, it's just a shortcut to a DOS program. Let's see what here. After upgrade. Oh man, so it would have done a benchmark? Previous saved processor information has not been detected. Well dang it, now I wish I had kept that one in there and done this beforehand. I didn't know that you could do that. Determining its speed and iComp index. Yeah, 435, whatever that... Ah, dang it. Ah, I wish I'd run this before. That would have been fun. No, I have to go in there and swap it out. That's not a big deal, but then I have to put all the jumpers back, and it sucks. All right. So, it's saying, according to this iComp index, that it's very close to the 63 megahertz Pentium Overdrive, but the 83 would be up there. I don't know if I believe that on this system, but that could very well just be because this motherboard, man. Ah, yeah, this looks very much like the one that came with the Pentium Overdrive. Processor instruction test, there's this. Which was also in the Pentiums. But, I mean, you know, yay, it failed. Or, it passed, it didn't fail. Floating point conformance test. Yes, conform. Do that math. Do it all. Fast, baby. Faster. Ooh. So that's awesome. A successful upgrade in my opinion, even though it's nominally slower than the Pentium Overdrive, but it's not so much so that it's going to make like any notable difference whatsoever to my videos. It's just that I've got a 486 in there now, which I am a little more fond of. And this pointless demo shortcut. What in the world? That's so dumb. Can't believe it was just a shortcut. I should have known seeing the PIF file in the icon there. Well, that's pretty much it, I guess. Seems I gotta do something else, though. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh. I keep forgetting I've added that little wavetable daughter board. to the sound card in there.
Come get some.
Yeah, I remember being around like 12 or 13 FPS on the top of this rooftop here. It's the same thing. So here is my thing I'm thinking aloud at the moment. That is, what is the bottleneck in this system that is making it exactly the same performance pretty much as the Pentium Overdrive? There should be a slight difference, right? So here's all the things I've swapped out on here. Like I've swapped out I swapped out the memory a while back. I put like faster, what I think is faster, 60 nanosecond EDO RAM in here, 16 megs of that. That's pretty much what I had in there before, but yeah, I was seeing if that would make a difference. It made none. And yeah, I've swapped out the graphics. That obviously helps, but for like the CPU tests, that shouldn't affect those tests. Yeah. Is it just the motherboard itself is incapable of going beyond a certain way? Like, is it some bus speed things? Is it, because I've looked all through like, crap. Settings on the BIOS and all sorts of stuff. Again, I wasn't trying to like blow myself away with a performance gain or something. Obviously, I didn't expect the 486 to be faster, but I did at least expect it to be slower, or I expected that overdrive to be faster whenever I initially did it. Yeah, if anybody has any things that they want me to look into or try or just check in the BIOS or whatever, I've gone through and set everything that I know to do in terms of like memory optimizations and stuff. So let's see here, yeah. External cache enabled, right back, that's fine. Internal cache, right through is grayed out, and like I said, you can change it on the motherboard with a jumper, but whenever I do that, it just doesn't boot. And in terms of memory, that's why I've got it here. It's pretty much, you know, I think that's good. Whatever. This is definitely faster, or you know, the fastest I've gotten things to go with the memory. But this is what I've got. I've messed with every single one of those options you've seen, and every single time it's either like exactly the same, like this is as good as it gets, or it's so close that it just doesn't matter. So at least it's got a 486 in there again. That's literally all that I wanted to accomplish with this video, and I think I've done that. Thanks for watching. Oh, hey, nope, wait. I'm not quite done yet, I guess. So a few days later here, and I'm just still screwing around with this because I find it fascinating, the discrepancy or lack thereof between the two processors. I've got my theories, but you know, just kind of decided to look up some other folks' experiences with this, and remembered Phil's Computer Lab. There's a video on his channel where he did a comparison between the X4100 and the Pentium Overdrive 83 megahertz. So yeah, this is what we side graded from the 83 megahertz Pentium Overdrive, and here is the DX4100. I don't remember if he said if it's an overdrive or what, but yeah, you can see in a lot of these benchmarks, the results here are actually really close for things like Doom and 3D benchmark we were doing, but depending on some of the other ones, you might get more drastic differences. And like for instance, System Information 8.0, he got exactly the same results on the two as well, just like I did. And with Top Bench, yeah, pretty close, with the DX4100 being slightly faster than the Pentium Overdrive in that case, which is kind of how I got. Some of these others I didn't run, like the Landmark 6.0 FPU benchmark. That made a much more significant difference, as you'd expect, since that was a really big difference between the Pentium and the 486 class chips anyway. So I just ran the Doom benchmark max settings, and we got this right here. Let me see what it was when I did it on the Pentium Overdrive. Okay, yeah, so this is what it was in my Pentium Overdrive video. So of course the same game ticks, because it's the same benchmark, and 2418 real ticks on this one versus 2664 on the Pentium Overdrive. So there is a difference. It's still just not as much as I thought. I don't know, I always assumed there'd be a wider gulf between the 486 DX4 100 Overdrive and the Pentium. There's also just the fact that the motherboard itself, it's not the best. You know, Phil even mentioned that in his video there that I just showed some of the benchmarks. It's like, there's slower 486 motherboards, and I know this one's slower. It always has been. Again, I wasn't trying to go for crazy speed boosts here. I was just curious what the difference would be, and I expected more of a difference. It's not a negative, it's just interesting, I think. So I've got a 486 and a wood grain 486 again. That is entirely my goal. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say, except I'm going to try this Pentium overdrive in probably that Quantex 486 that I got recently. Got it in the most recent episode of LGR Thrifts. So, that's cool, because that's a faster system. It's got a much nicer board for a 486 era thing going on there. It's one of the later PCI ones. It's got a Cyrix 486 equivalent type thing in there right now. It's endlessly fun with this stuff for me. And now I'm just rambling on about old processors and computers, but that's what I do. I don't know. I think this is cool. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching this blurb.